first question was, why do you think Christians put such a high emphasis on being good rather than being real? And as young adults, we had a number of responses to this. I'm kind of tracking. We had a number of responses to this. This one sound okay? I don't like this one. So I'll just contend to this area. But we talked about a lot of things. But I think we touched on being generational, the generational between us being the Y or the X generation and the baby boomer generation and things like that. And we more come from this generation of we gotta keep it real, right? So in the question, and why do Christians put such a high emphasis on being good rather than being real? What we kind of came up was it was easier to say to be good than to be good. If that can make sense. Right? Right. And then that we oftentimes are afraid of being judged. We saw it as the way that the world is right now, the current state of the world, and kind of how there's this general feeling of people not taking accountability for their own actions, right? And so that trickles down into the church. And sometimes we're afraid to say something, to speak out, but we do that. Why can the second question is long? See if you can follow. How can Christian communities learn the proper balance between what it means to be gracious and effective with outsiders while being very clear on not accepting sin among churchgoers? Keep in mind that it's complex because many people who visit churches are actually outsiders. How should church discipline function when the community is invited in every Sunday? Again, a very long topic, and as young people sometimes we go off on tangents and things like that. But in the end, we came up with don't be judgmental. Right? How many times do we have people come and they visit our churches and it's the so-called unchurched, and we judge them right then and there, and that kind of makes them uncomfortable. We talked about patience and being patient, right? Because we're trying to foster a change. However, if we're not patient with someone, if we're not meeting them where they are, why would they want to be where they need to be? Right? So we talked about these things. We talked about how we need to continue to educate. In churches sometimes, right, when you take over a leadership role, not oftentimes are the older people in the congregations teaching the younger people what to do. They may even get upset sometimes you don't know how to fill out a form, but hey, you never told me. So what am I to do? And here we are, a bunch of young people with the energy and passion to do God's work, but we're not necessarily being told. Okay? So we talked about being relevant. We talked about being spiritual, which was something that's really important. Take yourself out of the equation because it's not about you, right? It's about God. So speak to them strictly from what the Bible says, strictly from what that scripture says. What else do we have on here? Lead by example. Get out of God's way. Right? Not our way, but God's way. Don't be afraid of people you don't understand. Right? Josh had given the example that there was a homeless person, I think it was yesterday, and someone was kind of scared of that homeless person. But here we are, the church, and we should be helping this person, but instead we shun them away. But what did the lady say? Oh, child, you need to go home, or you stink, or something like that? They should never hear anything like that from us. Especially we're here, people are just talking about these things. But why the second you step out of there, it changes? We got to keep ourselves accountable. So we talked about some